Welcome back to Fiercely Unfiltered. I'm your host, Kelly Renee. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about something I've never said out loud. I've thought about pieces of it in my mind over the years, but it's just something that I never said it out loud because once I do, it makes it real. And I used to think that if I didn't talk about something, it couldn't hurt me. But what I've learned is the stuff you try and bury, it doesn't disappear. It actually grows roots. And today I'm going to talk about my situation. It was 1991. I was 14 years old. I was a freshman in high school. It was the year I started drinking with my friends. We'd go to my friend's house and she had a basement and we'd hang out there. And still today, I don't like the taste of alcohol. But back then we used to drink Natural Light. It was the cheapest. And I used to shotgun them because I didn't have to taste them. You punch the hole in the bottom, open it up, and you just down it really fast. So that's what we would do. Well, this one night, probably was in the beginning of me experimenting with drinking. It was one night we were at my friend's house and I got wasted. Couldn't handle my alcohol. I was 14. Still can't handle my alcohol. But my friend, this downstairs area had a living room and then had two rooms. I went into one of the rooms to close my eyes and pass out. And what happened next is I hear banging on the door. It's my friend yelling, "Why is this door locked? What are you doing to her?" And then the door opens and my friend's there. And I don't remember anything that actually happened to me in that room. But when my friend opened the door and came in there was blood on me. There was blood on the sheet or the blanket I was on. And I was just out of it. Didn't really understand what was going on. I was 14. I was a virgin. I've never had sex before. I don't even know if I had been to third base yet, my freshman year. And on top of that, I hadn't even started my period yet. I talk about in the other episodes, I was a late bloomer. Didn't start my period till I was 16. So this experience for me, I didn't let myself process it, I guess. Like, I still can't name what it was. Like, there was no consent. I didn't say yes. I was a virgin at the time. I was still innocent at this time, hadn't even gone through puberty yet. And in that moment, everything that's supposed to come along with your first time and losing your virginity was gone. That choice of when it was going to happen and how it happened, I didn't get to be a part of it. And for me to deal with this, I just didn't talk about it. For some reason, I felt like if I didn't say it out loud or I didn't talk about it, it couldn't hurt me. Or like I said, it wouldn't make it real or true. And I went on living in silence about this. When I talk about my first time, this isn't it. Never told this story to anyone before. My friend who was involved, I don't think I've ever even had a conversation with her about it since that night. Because I feel to blame a little bit, even though like everything I know I'm not to blame. I know that wasn't my fault. But I got drunk. I put myself in a situation where it wasn't anyone else's responsibility to take care of me but mine. And I didn't. I let myself be taken advantage of. I can't even recall what happened. I don't know how long I was in there with this person. I don't know what he actually did to me. And I wouldn't even have known anything if I wasn't a virgin and you bleed your first time, I guess. I wouldn't even have known that happened, I don't think. So I understand, and it's 63% of sexual assaults go unreported. I think it's out of 1,000 sexual assaults, 310 get reported. 50 of those result in arrest, and only 28 in a conviction. And 8 out of 10 people who get assaulted know they're assaulter. And 63 don't report it. And I'm one of those people. I couldn't imagine reporting this. Like, I got drunk at 14 and wasted and got taken advantage of. Can you go get that guy in trouble, even though I did several things wrong too? But that's not how it works. Like, Just because I did something wrong doesn't mean I deserve that. But for some reason, I've lived with, I guess, shame about it. And I've never said it out loud to my parents, to any of my friends. I was married twice to neither of them. But I've learned that silence doesn't erase your story. It just leaves the pain on repeat. And I'm done repeating and living in the same pain. I want to pull every root out one by one and feel everything and dissect it and understand why I can't say I was raped, because I was. That was rape. Someone decided what they wanted to do with my body when I was passed out, blacked out, and they did it. And I didn't report it. I didn't say anything. And I lived with that in silence. And people who have been sexually assaulted, it's 1 in 4 women and 1 in 26 men have experienced attempted rape or actually the full act of rape. And this isn't something that anyone deserves. And I understand why 63% of people don't report it. That's a lot of people getting away with a lot of things. And I think about that's a lot of people who are going on to do this again because they're not held accountable. But maybe they learned something from this, but it's hard to learn something from something when there's no accountability. I'm not going to name names. The only people that know what happened are me, the person, and my friend. There's like 10 people there, so maybe they remember too. But 1991 is like 34 years ago. That's a long time. That's a long time to be sitting on something and not saying it out loud. That's a long time to be pushing stuff down and ignoring it. But ignoring something doesn't make it not true. It just lets it fester inside you. And like I said, silence is where pain grows, where you live in shame. I shouldn't be ashamed of something that happened to me. That's another thing. Like, I didn't even start my period yet. But imagine if I already went through puberty and I could have been pregnant from that night. Imagine that weight. And I think about pro-choice and pro-life. And I mean, I'm all pro-life. I think every life's important. But pro-choice is important too, because if I would have got pregnant that night, but there wasn't a possibility, so that wasn't even a part of my story back then. But I think now of these people who get in situations like this, and that one experience at 14 years old could have changed the whole trajectory of my life. I could have been a teen mom because I got drunk one night and made a bad decision. So now I have to raise a kid at 14. If I would have got pregnant at 14 in this experience, I would have definitely wanted an abortion. I definitely wasn't ready for parenthood, raising a kid, anything at that point. And for people who are pro-life and can't empathize with the mother on it's her choice, her body, her life, I don't understand that. There's so many kids in foster care right now. And for people that have such an opinion on pro-life, are you guys fostering any of these kids? People make has such bold stances on things that don't affect them or never have affected them. It's just their belief. But your belief is someone else's story or truth or reality. And if I was going through something like this, and on top of that had to deal with being pregnant and not being able to make the choice for myself of what I wanted to do with my body, it was already taken away from me once. So I ended up a couple years later having sex for my first time. It wasn't with a boyfriend. It wasn't a special magical moment having sex it wasn't my first time, but in my mind, it was my first time. For the guy I slept with my first time, thought it was my first time too. But it wasn't until I was with one of my friends and we were at this guy's house and she ended up having sex with one of his friends. It was her first time. And before we left, she was like, "Oh my God, come up to the room. I got to show you something." She was actually in the person's house's sister's room. And there was blood all over the sheets. And she's like, oh my God, what do I do? I'm so embarrassed. Do I tell him? Of course she tells him. You don't want his sister to come home from college and see blood all over her sheets. That wouldn't be good. But at that moment, like there was a flashback. Like this is what it looked like that night when my friend went in the room. Like I was raped. Like I don't remember it, but this is the aftermath of someone having sex for the first time. This is what it looked like in that room that night. But for me to say this out loud today is going to be really healing for me because I've never said this out loud. And whenever it pops up in my mind, I push it down. I've never processed these thoughts even in my mind because I don't know if I wasn't ready. I had so much other stuff going on. But now that I'm looking at it, silence to me, dealing with stuff in that way might have started at 14. It might have been the way I dealt with this is if I don't talk about it, it won't make it real. I wouldn't have to deal with the emotions of it and just push it down. And I did that. It's been 34 years until I'm actually pulling this root out and talking about it. And I hope this is the last time. So for anyone else who this has happened to and you haven't said it out loud, silence doesn't make it disappear. It won't erase your story, like I said. So you got to deal with everything. I wish I would have dealt with this sooner because maybe I would have learned the tools to cope with stuff in a different way because I can see how this followed me. I can see how that through my marriages, through my life, anything that happened to me that I didn't want to feel or process, I would push down and ignore. If I didn't talk about it, it couldn't hurt me. I wouldn't have to admit it's real. But stuff sneaks up on you and it will show up in how you handle other trauma in your life. And this is not the way to handle things by pushing it down. And I've pushed thing after thing after thing down until I exploded and I couldn't handle it. Till my life fell apart and I was left with trauma from 1990 that I hadn't even talked to myself about. And I don't know if that made me feel unworthy, maybe, of the real experience, or maybe I felt like a liar. That's why the truth is so important to me at this point, because I didn't lie. I just didn't say the truth. So maybe that's why this Fiercely Unfiltered is so important to me right now through my healing process, is because I am going to pull up every root. I'm going to film an episode on it. I'm going to talk to my therapist about it, and I'm going to heal from it so I can live the second half of my life healthy and in peace. And now I feel free a little bit after talking about this. Remember, silence doesn't erase your story. It just leaves the pain on repeat, and that's not a way to live. Until next time.